The fog was a living thing that night, swirling through the narrow alleys of Hanyang. It clung to the giwa roofs, muffled the distant sounds of the city, and swallowed the meager light from a single, oil-soaked lantern hanging outside a closed shop. Bagminjun, his shoulders aching from a day of hauling goods, pulled his indigo jogori tighter. He just wanted to reach his small hanok by the Cheonggyecheon stream before the chill truly set in. But then, through the swirling mist ahead, a new light appeared. It wasn't the warm, familiar glow of an oil lamp, nor the soft yellow of a paper lantern. This light was a cold, sickly green, floating silently, impossibly, just above the cobblestones of the deserted alley. It pulsed, a rhythmic, hypnotic beacon in the oppressive fog, pulling his gaze, drawing him deeper into the spectral night. What could such a light promise or demand? The strange green light from the alley lingered in Bagminjun's mind, but he quickly dismissed it as a trick of the fog, or perhaps a new, exotic lantern brought by a visiting merchant. Bagminjun was a shrewd and ambitious young man in his early 20s, always seeking opportunities amidst the bustling night markets of Hanyang. He scorned the old wives' tales and superstitions that kept many from venturing out after dark, believing hard work and cleverness were the only keys to fortune. His days were spent haggling over silks and grains, his nights calculating profits under the dim light of his own lantern. It was during one such late night, as he passed the Cheonggyecheon stream on his way home, that he heard the hushed whispers from a group of women. They spoke of recent disappearances, of people lured away from the stream's banks by a peculiar light, never to be seen again. They called it the Dungbul Sane, the Lantern Man. He scoffed then, but the memory of the green glow returned, a chill that had nothing to do with the night air. The chill that had settled over Bagminjun after hearing the whispers about the Dungbul Sane now felt like a challenge. He told himself it was merely a story to frighten children, a superstition for the weak-minded. His ambition, however, saw an opportunity in the unusual. If such a lantern truly existed, perhaps it was a rare antique, worth a fortune if found. A few nights later, under a sliver of moon, Bagminjun returned to the Cheonggyecheon stream. He walked its banks, eyes scanning the murky water, half expecting, half dreading. And then he saw it again, the eerie green light, bobbing gently near a tangle of reeds in a secluded, overgrown section of the stream. It emanated from an ornate paper lantern, intricately painted with faded symbols, unlike any he had ever seen. It seemed untouched by the water, impossibly pristine, and it pulsed with an undeniable energy, a silent beckoning. A shiver ran down his spine, a warning perhaps, but the lure of its potential value was stronger. Ignoring the gnawing unease, Bagminjun waded into the cold water, his fingers trembling as he reached for the glowing artifact, claiming what he believed to be his prize. With the strange lantern clutched in his hands, Bagminjun felt a peculiar cold seep into his bones, a chill that no amount of brisk walking could shake. Back in the bustling market, the lantern was not the treasure he had hoped for. Every merchant he approached recoiled, some muttering about a coldness emanating from it, others simply refusing to touch it, their eyes wide with fear. The ornate paper, so vibrant in the stream, now seemed to absorb the light, rendering the symbols on its surface indistinct, almost blurred, like they were seen through water. When he tried to light it with his own oil, it only flickered with that same unsettling, dim green glow, refusing to offer warmth or proper illumination. That night, back in his small Hanok, the lantern sat in the corner of his room, an unwanted guest. The world outside his paper screen window was silent, unnaturally so. Then, a faint splash reached his ears, soft and rhythmic, as if something was slowly wading through shallow water, right outside his home, though the Cheonggyecheon stream was a good distance away. He held his breath, and a shadow, too tall and thin to be human, momentarily darkened his Hanji screen before vanishing into the night. The soft, rhythmic splashing outside Bagminjin's Hanok continued for several nights, each time a little closer, a little clearer. He awoke each morning feeling a profound, unshakable cold, as if the chill from the stream had become a part of him. He felt perpetually watched, a prickling sensation on his neck, even in the crowded market. Desperate for answers, he sought out the Yes Iyagigan, a wise old man, known for his knowledge of local folklore, who often sat by the market's edge. The old storyteller, his face a map of wrinkles, listened intently to Bagminjun's tale of the Green Lantern and the increasing disappearances. He then spoke, his voice raspy, of the Mul-gwishin, water spirits who claim the drowned. Some, the old man whispered, leaning closer, are said to carry a lantern, not of paper and oil, but of their own lost light, a beacon to lure the living to their watery graves. That lantern, it is not merely cursed, it is a part of the spirit itself, a piece of its fragmented soul calling for what it has lost. A shiver, colder than any before, snaked down Bagminjun's spine as he realized the disappearances had indeed escalated since he took the lantern. The lantern wasn't just from the spirit, it was the spirit, or a part of it now tethered to him. The old storyteller's words echoed in Bagminjun's mind, each syllable deepening the icy grip of fear around his heart. The lantern, now undeniably a part of the Dungbul Sane, had to be returned. He carried it back to the Cheonggyecheon stream, its green light a baleful eye in the dark night. But when he stood at the water's edge, his arm refused to move. The lantern felt impossibly heavy, like a stone dragging him down, yet simultaneously, it felt fused to his hand, an extension of his own flesh. He couldn't release it. Desperate, he tried to sell it again, offering it for a pittance. But people now actively recoiled, not just from the lantern, but from him. A street vendor, averting his gaze, whispered, "Your eyes, Bagminjun, they reflect its light now, cold and green, like the lantern's own." Bagminjun rushed to a shallow puddle, staring at his reflection. There, in his own pupils, was the undeniable sickly green glow, a chilling light that seemed to emanate from within. The lantern was no longer just tethered to him. It was consuming him, making him one with the very thing he now desperately feared. The revelation of his glowing eyes shattered Bagminjun. He stumbled home, the lantern's green light now seeming to pulse in time with his racing heart. Tonight, the familiar rhythmic splashing wasn't outside his Hanok, but directly beneath his wooden maru. It was louder, closer, echoing in the confined space. The sound of heavy, waterlogged fabric dragging across wood. The ornate lantern, sitting on the small table in his room, suddenly flared, a blinding emerald intensity that filled the entire space, suffocating him with its cold. He could feel an unnatural chill radiating from it, seeping into his very bones. Then, a pale, distorted face materialized beyond his Hanji screen, devoid of eyes or mouth, its long, stringy black hair plastered to a waterlogged skull. It beckoned with a slow, deliberate movement of a skeletal hand. Bagminjun tried to scream, to move, but his limbs felt heavy, weighted down by an invisible force. The lantern pulsed brighter, its green light a physical pressure. He felt an icy grip, impossibly cold and strong, close around his ankle. It pulled slowly at first, then with increasing force, dragging him across the ondo floor towards the paper screen, toward the pale, waiting face outside. There was no escape, only the chilling embrace of the Dongbul Sanai and the cold, green light. The blinding emerald light from Bagminjun's Hanok faded. With the first hint of dawn, the rhythmic splashing stopped. The following morning, concerned neighbors, noticing the silence and the unusually wide-open demon of his small compound, ventured inside. They found Bagminjun's Hanok empty. His few possessions were scattered, untouched, but the ornate green lantern was gone. What truly chilled them were the footprints, not the ordinary dusty marks of a living man, but distinct, wet footprints, as if someone had emerged from deep water. They led from his now empty room, across the wooden maru, through the small dirt madang, and out the damun, heading directly toward the Cheonggyecheon stream. No one had seen Bagminjun leave, only a few early risers on their way to market reported a fleeting, eerie green light moving silently through the pre-dawn mist near the stream, a light they had quickly dismissed as a trick of their sleepy eyes. The truth, however, clung to the wet footprints like an unseen current, a silent testimony to a soul claimed by the deep. Years passed in Hanyang. The night market still bustled. The Cheonggyecheon stream still flowed, and the stories of the Dongbul Sanai continued, now told with an added layer of dread. The disappearances near the stream did not cease entirely, but they became less frequent, more selective. Sometimes, on the darkest, foggiest nights, when the moon was hidden, and the city's lanterns were but weak blurs, a lone green light was seen floating above the Cheonggyecheon, seeming to search, to linger. But then, an even colder whisper began to circulate amongst those who dared to walk the stream banks after dark. They spoke of 2 green lights. One, the familiar eerie glow, and beside it, a second, fainter, but undeniably present, dancing like a lost reflection. The old storyteller, his voice even more fragile with age, would sometimes murmur that the Lantern Man now had a companion, another light that danced beside the first, forever seeking new souls to join their watery vigil. A chilling reminder that some things, once taken, simply demand another to fill the void, and that greed for what is not truly yours, especially from the realm of the departed, invites a chilling and inescapable reckoning. The green lights continue to drift, waiting.